Welcome back, 3D students. In this video, I'm going to show you how you might want to modify the blade of your sword to make it different than the one we created. If you remember correctly, we had this we were using for reference. So let's just see if we can make some of these different blade types. Now, before we get into this, I think it would probably be a good idea to discuss something called iterative saving. We're going to be doing a lot of things to this base mesh, and some of the things we may not like. And we may want to come back to this base mesh to try something different. If we go very far in one direction, we may not have enough undo steps to undo what we did. We may also stop our session, save our work, come back another day and say, I really don't like the direction this is going. And if you've done that, then you're out of luck. You will not have the space mesh saved to go back to. So to save an iteration of your scene, what you would do is you would click Save, as it is, like it is, save the base mesh, and then we would go to Save As. And in 3D Max, all you got to do is click this plus sign right here. And what that will do is add a number to your scene. Right now I'm in Sword 02, and if I modify this one as much as I want to, I can always go back to Sword 01 and try something different. But what I would suggest that you do is save a copy of your scene as an Sword 02 or something, and then when we go on and modify this, you can always go back to your base mesh. So to make the blade a one-sided blade, what we can do is we can come up here and enter vertex mode. Remember, you can also push this button here in the command panel. And what we're going to do is select these vertices right here. The easiest way to do that is to simply click and draw a selection box around them so that you select them on both sides. And then in just the X and Z axes here, you want to pull that forward like that. And then what we're going to need to do is fix these two at the top. So let's grab that one and pull it down in the Z axis, and that one and pull it down in the Z axis. So we get the edge to continue. And then I think we need to take this one and pull it in here to make the top of the sword flat. And then maybe I need to pull it up a little bit to make the edge more consistent. And that is how you do that. Very simple. If we wanted to make the top curvier here, then what we would do is we would need two more edges, one here and one here. Now, we're going to need to be able to create edges when we're modeling like this in subdivision mode. And an easy way to do that is to use this tool right here called Swift Loop. It can be found in your modeling ribbon. You may not see it right now. If you don't see it, click this little button right here to expand it. You also will see different tools depending on which mode you're in. And if you don't have an object selected, then you won't see any tools at all up here. So you have to have a subdivided object selected in order to see these tools. So I'm going to go back to vertex mode, and I'm going to activate Swift Loop. And then if we hover over some edges, you can see that we see this green edge, and this is where we would create a loop. All you got to do is hover where you want it and click. And I'm going to create two new edges. And then I'm going to enter vertex mode, and I'm going to grab this one, these vertices, and pull them out like that a little bit. Grab these and pull them out like that a little bit to make that more curvy. Now we ended up with more edges down here, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter, because when you use Swift Loop, it cuts a loop all the way around your mesh. So I'm going to undo that by hitting Control Z a bunch of times. We can do another blade type. Alright, you could also just enter vertex mode and grab all of these at the top and use your scale tool, but only in the but then switching to the front view and scaling just in the x-axis to make the blade not wide at the top, like so. Another thing you could do is you could add more edges to make the blade curve. So I'm going to enter Swift Loop, and I'm going to click an edge right here. And notice when I create an edge, if I'm in edge mode, that edge is still selected. If it's not selected, then you can double click on it, and that selects the entire edge. I need this edge to be flatter than it is, so I'm going to enter vertex mode, and I'm going to grab these vertices here. Notice I'm drawing a selection box around them. That's because I'm selecting them on both sides. And then in the z-axis, I'm going to move that down and make that flat. And then we're going to select all these vertices like this. Use the scale tool, and we're going to scale just in the x-axis. Then I'm going to do Swift Loop again and put one here about in the center. Go to vertex mode, grab those vertices, pull them down, grab all of them, and scale them out like so. Now we could also put another loop right here about, say, I don't know, here. Notice that loop is still selected there, it's red. So I'm going to hit W on my keyboard, or actually R, I meant to say. And I'm going to scale that one in on only the x-axis. And that gives that blade a nice kind of a curve. And so that sort of created this one, although we could have put another edge here and made it curve this way, and we didn't make that one quite as curvy. We created this one, we have this one, we had this one, of course, these two are the same. This is the next one we're going to look at. So the first step here is to make the blade pointier at the top. So I'm going to enter vertex mode and grab all the vertices at the top here and scale them in like that. And then we're going to need some edges. So let's start maybe, say, here. And I don't know if we need to make this edge straighter or not, so I'm just going to get my move tool and pull that way. Get Swift Loop again and pull one here, maybe one about here. And pull that way. And then pull that way. So there you have the curvy blade. Now if these edges were straighter here, I could probably put more of them in and make them curve more. One quick way to straighten an edge is after you create it, if it's curved like this, and what it's doing is it's following this curve at the point. That's why it's not straight to begin with, is we can activate our scale tool by pushing R on the keyboard. R. And in just the Z-axis, we can scale that edge as long as the whole loop is selected, and you will see what that does. That straightens that edge out immediately. Now if I were to create another loop here, this edge loop is now following this edge, so that's why it's still not straight. If I were to create one here and straighten it out, and then I were to create one in between those two, then that one would be straight. Now, once I've got these straight edges, of course, I can double click them. I can move them up or down. And make my curvy blade. So those are some different ways you can modify the blade of your sword. When we come back in the next video, we're going to talk about how to modify the crossguard here. and I'll see you then.